They've been busted doing things they shouldn't have done, or they've been accused of things they didn't do. A lot of people end up hurt that way. A lot of people end up dead that way. You may have who you think to be the best friend in the world, but then again, you gotta imagine to yourself in their positions. Are they really selfish and greedy, or are they good-hearted? Well, their heart's in the right place. We know it's in their chest. But what is good-hearted? When somebody is telling you about abuse that they're enduring and you're busy giving them advice, blowing them off, telling them how to think and feel, this is why people commit suicide. This is why girls cut themselves. This is why boys cut themselves too. They come to you for help and you blow them off. Then we go to the professionals because you don't care. The professionals blow us off. So we just have to take the abuse. No matter what, there's some excuse. You don't want to get involved, but then when bad shit happens to you, you complain non-stop that nobody will help you, nobody will help you. Or you forget the people that did help you when you finally get up and out. You say, hey, we can work together. You help me get out, I'll help you. But we helped you get out, didn't we? And where are you now? Well, looking down on us and telling us how good you're doing and that you did it all yourself. You didn't. There were a lot of people that helped you, and you know it. But you know, when people get off the streets, they don't want to remember the streets. They don't want to remember what this is like. They don't want to remember having to trust somebody who's not trustworthy, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to get screwed. And even that one guy who's rock solid, you know what? He's still homeless and he's still in a desperate situation himself. So there's a chance he's going to do something desperate at some point too, just like everyone else. People do a lot of desperate things when they're scared. I understand people's fears. It's difficult not to, and they're constantly telling me about them. Sorry, Sean, I can't tell the truth. I'm afraid for my kids. Sorry, Sean, I can't tell the truth. I'm a felon. Well, that sucks that you're a felon, but this spot right here is beautiful. This reminds me kind of a pirate movie. Let's take a look at it. It's a pirate's life for me. Beautiful area. It's almost tropical looking. Of course, it's moss instead of barnacles. That's right, I think moss is prettier anyway. Isn't that what it's about? Aesthetics. I know a lot of people who are in desperate situations. And some of them I once thought as good people. Maybe to someone they are. Maybe to their own families. Maybe. But I doubt it. For these people to know what a desperate situation I was in, for me to trust them with that information, well, it was difficult. It was difficult for me to believe that they would listen without telling me their entire life story. That's what it is to help Sean for most people, is telling me their entire life story. It's difficult for them to know or understand when they're interrupting me mid-sentence every sentence. If you guys are that fucked up on drugs, you can't help anybody, let alone yourself. If you're that fucked up on alcohol, you can't help anyone, let alone yourself. It sucks for somebody like me to have to depend on those people. All these folks who said, oh, Sean, they can't treat you like you're crazy. They can't treat you like you're crazy. Well, they will unless you speak up. Just because you haven't gone through it doesn't mean that I'm full of shit. Oh, Sean, I trust you, I believe you, I trust you. You never lied to me before. Well, fucking no, why don't you speak up? But do they ever speak up? No, they make me record them and post it up, along with them complaining about their fears. And then I'm not supposed to think about that, right? I'm not supposed to put myself in those people's shoes at all, am I? I'm just supposed to think about myself. Well, if I do that, you call me selfish. If I think about others, you tell me I need to mind my business. If I don't think about others, you tell me I'm selfish. You tell me I need to focus on me. Then, of course, when I have to deal with people in groups doing horrible shit because they were lazy, or because one of them took advantage of me. In most of these situations, it wasn't a whole bunch of people who did something wrong. It was one person who made a mistake, or one person who really fucked up. And people didn't care. I should be able to stop this because I'm intelligent. Because I'm intelligent. Because I'm intelligent. My intelligence does not stop how people are treated when their predators call them mentally ill. You remember that friend in high school, or junior high school? She used to come to school with her wrist taped up, or she'd disappear for 3 or 4 months out of the year. And you'd hear stories, or you'd hear nothing at all. And then, of course, she'd come back and she's got scars, and you hear the whispers and all that. That girl doesn't want to go through that. She doesn't. She wants to forget about the fact that Daddy couldn't keep his nasty cock beaters to himself. She just wants to have her friends back. Of course, her friends know she's been locked in a mental institution for 3 months. So no matter what, any argument that they have, any disagreement, that's going to be a point of contention. Anytime a boy is interested in that girl, you know, these other women are going to give up information, not necessarily maliciously, but most often, yes. If 2 women are competing over a boy, I've heard times and seen times when one of those women will go, oh, well, you don't want to date her. She was in an institution when she was 15. Why was she in an institution? That's right, you, her friend, knew that she was being molested. She came to you about it, and you wanted to talk over her and give her those pretty words. Now that you're fighting over a boy, the fact that she was locked up for trying to tell on her predators and you looked the other way, you didn't so much as tell your parents or nothing. You just let that poor girl go through that. And later on, when it's a point of contention, you use it against her. And it doesn't always have to be over a boy. It could be over anything. And it doesn't always have to be girls that are doing it. Boys do it too. It's stupid. It's about social positioning, popularity. The more popular you are and the more social positioning you have, well, the more people will like you, or the more you will have to fend them off. You think Johnny Depp couldn't leave the United States today if he wanted to? Buy himself an island and forget the rest of the world exists? Oh, he absolutely could. He could say, screw the world, I'm gone. He's got the money and the resources to do it. If he had to give up half of his money today to Amber Heard, he would still be able to do it. Gets expensive though, don't it? Moving all the damn time. How many times could he move? How many islands could he buy and move back and forth between on half of the money that he's got now? This is who you guys care about. This is who you share about. With my story, you just want to forget about it and pretend I don't exist. But you'll share the shit. 6 years later, you're still sharing a bunch of shit about famous people. You don't give a fuck about me, you care about the Kardashians. You don't give a fuck about me, you care about Johnny Depp. I'm not famous, so I don't matter. But goddamn it, I'm sure as shit infamous. I save lives, I don't take them. And people are busy telling me how to think and how to feel. They're not busy finding out a goddamn thing about the situation or why their testimony is important. They're not taking a look at it. They're making any excuse not to. No, you were a part of it. All these people who told me that they were going to help, and then they told me they couldn't later on. Well, you know what? Later on, that's far down the road, and you shouldn't have led me on for all that time. The fact that you were already involved in the situation and you needed to speak up in court makes it quite complicated for me. These people can hate me all they want. Their testimony is already on my YouTube. If they lied to me and I had to make my decisions based on their lies, and they were taking resources from me, that includes my time, that's horrible. That's a horrible thing to know, that you, somebody who is at the top of the list for being victimized, is being victimized by the people who claim they're going to help you. You get there and they're alcoholics or they're meth addicts. You don't want to be there. You're scared. You don't have anywhere else to go. You don't have any money. You got to carry all this fucking evidence so that you can show what's going on. Your friend there is supposed to help you, but then again, they're not a friend. They've become the drug. Meanwhile, you just have to take it. Another dead mosquito. See if we can show it. These things just love eating me up. That one bit me right on the wrist. Little bastard. And I'm not supposed to stretch it. But of course, that's one of the hazards living near water where there's any of it at all that's stale. On some of those islands, there's water that filters in a little bit through the sand, so there's little water pools, and they're on most of the bigger islands like this that are in the river. This is the Hood River. It's not very wide. That's actually the middle of the river, though. That's not the other side of the river. That's a little island in the center. Anyway, there were so many people that had good intentions. When you say they have a good heart or their heart is in the right place, you mean they had good intentions. Their intentions were good. It was their follow-through that was not there. Someone's intentions aren't going to fix shit. They have to follow through with it. And in a timely and efficient manner. I mean, when people promise to help and you've only got, the possibility of maybe 2 weeks before you got to go in and be able to show that stuff, and these people are finally getting a hold of you 6 months later after posting up trips to Disneyland, Six Flags, and about 30 different camping and fishing trips, and you're going, well, obviously this person isn't going to help me. You got to try to find somebody else. So then you move on and find somebody else, and these folks are like, well, you stopped keeping me informed. You weren't doing anything. Why am I going to keep on telling you what's going on and trying to get you to look at the evidence when you're literally not doing anything to help? With a lot of these folks, at first they were going to help me how I needed, but then they just procrastinated and procrastinated. And then they're like, oh, I thought you just needed someone to talk to. No, you fucking didn't. The fact that you made plans with me, the fact that you promised me, the fact that you gave me your word on so many different things. Like I said, every time there was an issue and every time there was a problem, I let someone know. The reason I let someone know is because I needed help documenting it, making sure that it was recorded, because if I document it and record it, it doesn't make any difference. I gotta post it on fucking YouTube without that help. And then these people are like, oh, Sean, you shouldn't have posted me on YouTube. I'm like, you should have fucking helped to get that stuff in the courtroom. If you'd have helped that get in the courtroom, your eternal shame on the internet would not be on the internet. The fact that you let things happen, the fact that you were involved, the fact that I did go to you for help, the fact that you made every excuse under the sun not to come forward and tell the truth. The fact that you were involved and knew that you were involved and knew that these situations happened. And then at the end, you want to play stupid and play victim like nothing ever happened. Well, your voice, your and I conversations are on my YouTube channel. They show that I've been telling the truth. They show that those things did happen. They show that you were involved. Now out here, I try to show you how dirty it is, how difficult it is. I mean, those of you who are heroin addicts in houses, you're in houses doing that stuff, and you're fucking scared shitless. Imagine the addicts out here and how scary it is. And the more scared they are because they've been in an area too long and they've got a reputation, the more likely they are to do desperate things and take advantage of somebody. That guy who fixed my vehicle did it for next to nothing for what he did. One of them bolts, we'd already discussed it beforehand because he was saying, you know, that bolt there is really in there tight. So when we went to take a look at it and tear it down, had to wipe it off and all that. And of course it twisted off a little, and then when we went to put it back in, because it was dark, we didn't get to inspect it, and it twisted off going back in. I mean, it wasn't even 10 pounds of pressure on it. I'm sorry, my chest was itching. Yesterday was pretty warm, and as a result, I sweat a lot. So my skin is covered in salt, and of course that gets itchy. Now that combined with bug bites, because I'm outside, doesn't help out any. Wearing my hoodie works for now, but I'm in the shade and it's getting pretty warm, and the only reason I'm wearing my hoodie is to keep the bugs off of me. For me to go to the library and use the services there, I gotta spend, what is it, like $6 worth of change. And then that allows me to sit there for a few hours, like 3 hours. At the end of that 3 hours, I got to go back out and put the change in again and do it again. Anything I got to carry, like, you know, just have my vehicle running for a couple of days. Still, I got to take that stuff to the library, carry it in, plug it in, and of course, try to get everything done by myself, making the calls by myself. Getting blown off the same way. I need somebody to make the calls with me who's willing to look at the evidence and admit that they've seen it and go, hey, you need to take this guy seriously. Don't give him the mentally ill treatment. He's got the documentation, and he's also got the recordings both on YouTube and on his computers. He's got the evidence to back up the shit that he says. Now, Mandy Singer did that, and she did that while I was in McCook, but she was also scared of losing her housing and scared of the situation with her family. Like, that was a very bad situation. Her and her daughter were both considering going to court with me, but they weren't able to. Their family situations did actually happen, and if subpoenaed, I don't even know if Mandy Singer would require being subpoenaed. She might just show up on her own because that's some fucked up shit. But that's what needed to happen. That's what the public pretenders needed to do. That evidence that I had, they needed to look at. They needed to subpoena the people that I had been trying to show the evidence to. The people who claimed they would look at it. The ones who I went to in person, to show them in person, to get help in person, to try to send it out with them in person. In person. And all these folks, what they want to do is tell me what to do and what to think and where to go. And of course, they've only given 5 minutes of thought into it. Meanwhile, I've already gone to the places that their 5 minutes of thought have brought them to the conclusion of. And their 5 minutes of thought isn't even based on what you've been saying. A lot of these people, I have them recorded on my YouTube channel. A YouTube channel where I say the same things in my conversations as I say the same things to all of you that I say to them in these conversations. I make sure that it is available for everyone, at least as much as possible. Given my limited computer skills, limited editing skills, and limited access to any of the stuff needed to do that, well, it's very much been tough. And when people say that they're going to help me, and then all of a sudden, at the last minute, there's always something that comes up, that's not my fault. When these people say it's not their fault, that's right, it's not their fault. And if it's not their fault, it's not my fault either. If the cops are going to say that you wouldn't help for one reason, and you're telling me that you couldn't help for another, then we need to get this shit squared off. Because the cops are slandering my name to prevent me from being heard. The things that you did, the things that you took part in, and the things that you were unable to take part in for whatever reason. Things that you claimed you were going to do and then didn't. Now, the problem for me lies in when I've jumped through all those hoops, tried to do what you wanted for help that never arrived, that never existed. When I've jumped through 6 years of abuse and you can't take the time to listen to the abuse and help me turn it in, and that's why it's so rampant. That is why we are at-risk adults. We don't have a BLM fighting for our rights. You want to pretend there's all these agencies that help people like us out. There's not, especially when we're homeless. We have to depend on people like Laura Nelson and Brenda Dickinson. We have to depend on people like Natalie Bollinger. We have to depend on people like Tamara. A lot of these people had good intentions too. The only ones that ever helped were the ones in person. Brenda Dickinson, when she did help, she helped in person, but she never spoke up in court about it. She never once spoke up. A lot of people had good intentions with their pretty words, but their pretty words are not fucking solutions. These folks telling me that I gotta get a lawyer. I've talked to lawyers. Because of the mentally ill tag, I need to have a guardian or an advocate. And they need to be present for any questioning that I have. They have to be present when I speak to a lawyer. Someone has to be there. They have to verify that it did happen, that it wasn't a figment of my imagination. The lawyers nationwide, they know these tactics extremely well. When I was going to people for help before Natalie was killed, these people who want to hide like rats now, people like Joanna Taylor Smith and Derek Parrish, you know, they're friends, with some of my predators, and that's what made it a very delicate situation. I needed to talk to somebody in person and show them the evidence in person. I wish I had all of the ability to show it, in a... Well, there's a lot of stuff I can do now that I couldn't do back then. Now I can take screenshots, which is a good thing. Laura Nelson, just like many others, wanted to lead me to believe that her and her family and her child especially were threatened. Now I want to see the evidence of the threats. There were some people who also stated it outright that they and their kids were threatened. I want to see evidence of those threats. Were you actually threatened, or were you gaslighting me? Because see, when I say these things in court, things that are verified, I don't get to take them to court. I don't get to even say them in court. I'm not allowed to speak. That's why I need an advocate. I'm not allowed to speak. They pretend that all of these situations that are recorded, many of them live on YouTube, they want to pretend that these things don't exist because I must be schizophrenic because someone called me mentally ill. Well, who was it? And what mental illness in specific? You want to treat everybody with a mental illness like they're, what, a violent schizophrenic? Is that what it is? And of course, the police thinking, oh yeah, we fucked up. Maybe we should have listened to this guy. But if we helped frame him for a murder he didn't commit. Of course, at that point in time, I understand how many of them might have thought that I'd killed her, especially with the media. Especially with Peterson and Rogers being as inept as they are. That shit is fucking horrible. Luckily, I'm a resilient badass, but, with all these folks who wanted to pretend they were my friends, who were actually a part of these situations, who actually told me that them and their families and their lives were threatened. How am I supposed to believe them when none of them come forward in court? When I am slandered in court as if those people don't exist, as if they're a figment of my imagination and they're on my fucking YouTube channel. Their very own voices saying the very things I told you that they were telling me. The things that I was called schizophrenic for saying. Or my predators, shit, the only thing they could do was fight hard to keep it out of court by whatever means necessary. And of course, these people who knew what was going on, each one of them having their own individual part. Sure, you may not understand how important your part is, but it is. And just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that I'm a bad guy for telling the truth, or for recording you admitting to all the things that I said about you and about your situation, and the situation, how it, of course, had to do with mine. You say, oh, you need to show evidence, and then I show evidence, and you go, oh, you can't be telling people's personal business. Well, it's not their personal business anymore. When you tell somebody that you're going to help them, that you're going to come forward about the information that you know, and then you want to go out of your way not to, but you still want to lead them on. And then when they're out of resources, they're out of money, they're out of time, when they can't come see you in person anymore because every time they go see you in person, you're busy selling drugs or playing video games, or, I don't know how to explain to y'all how many times I went to people's houses to explain things to them. They told me to come over, and I went over. And it was quite an investment given the fact that I didn't have shit to expend towards travel. And then I gotta wait for their kids to go to bed. And then either they're too tired to do anything and they say, we'll do it in the morning. Well, in the morning they tell me, well, when the kids go to bed. And then after 2 or 3 days of this, and I'm expending all my money there, like at Miss Peach's, for example. You know, whenever I went over there, they expected me to either bring marijuana or bring cigarettes or both. So I was expending resources to go there. They didn't have enough this or they didn't have enough that. And of course, I'd dish it out. And of course, Miss Peaches, she had to go sell some pot, or she had to go get some pot for Dawn or something like that, you know. So that ate up a bunch of time, and it just, I had to understand that she was a mama. She's a parent. She had to go sell those drugs the same as she had to go to work at the security agency for the, what was it, the 29th Street Mall in Boulder. Yeah, she was security, mall security. I gotta understand all these things. I'm told over and over again, I gotta understand all these things. I'm told these things over and over again by the same group of people. The most powerful group of people in our country, matter of fact. Parents. Parents are the single largest group of voters in the country. Parents. People who had kids. Parents can change this. But you got to look at the parents and what they're fighting for. Black parents who have been through race crimes, well, they understand what their kid's going through as far as that goes, and they don't want it to continue. They didn't think it was right when it happened to them. They didn't like their parents' stories, and they don't want their kids having to go through that. But when you look at the term mentally ill, what you're talking about is most of what's in the DSM-5. That's the book of mental illnesses. Most of them are trauma reactions to severe physical and psychological abuse, and more. And for all these folks who were pretending that they were going to help me, who then wanted to pretend like if I just ignored it, it would go away. No, it doesn't go away. When every part of your life is destroyed because people who claim to care about you were too cowardly or too stupid to come forward about what they knew, wanted to pretend it didn't matter, didn't want to get involved, they were eternally shamed. And they shamed themselves further and shamed their family names by never coming forward, by making excuses, by doing dishonorable things. I speak out for a reason. Someone has to. It's good to be with you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.